Good morning, students. I hope you are all fine and safe in this COVID era. In today's lecture, we are going to talk about the various drugs affecting the calcium metabolism, and we are going to talk about it in the two parts. In the part 1, in today's lecture, we will cover the various factors which affect the calcium level, and in part 2, we will talk about an important disease called the osteoporosis. Let's first briefly revise the physiological function of the calcium in the body. As you have learned in the physiology, calcium is very important for the nerve and muscle function, for the generation of the action potential, and for the muscle contraction. Second, calcium has a very important function as a second messenger signaling pathway. Ultimately, after the stimulation of AP3 or DHE or CMP, calcium is either increased or decreased inside the cell and oral effect is carried out. So it is very important part of the second messenger system. Third, it is very important for the blood coagulation, as you have already learned. And fourth, for the bone strength, which is our today's main topic. Majority of the calcium inside the body is found in the bone. Without the calcium, bone become porous, which is known as the osteoporosis. They become weak and easily fractured. Bone contains the 99% of the calcium, and calcium provides two functions. One, strength, and second, it acts as a temporary store of the calcium. Whenever blood calcium level goes down, the bone can provide the calcium to the blood with the help of PTH and vitamin D. Three major factors which regulate the calcium level inside the body: parathyroid hormone, calcitonin, and vitamin D. The function of the parathyroid hormone is to increase the blood calcium level. Function of the parathyroid hormone is to increase the blood calcium level. So it is going to do it by taking the calcium out of the bone. So overall effect is decrease in the bone calcium level. So that is the main function of the parathyroid, increase in the blood calcium level. Opposite to PTH, the main function of calcitonin is to decrease the blood calcium level by whichever means. So it does by putting the calcium back inside the bone or increasing its excretion. But overall effect is to decrease the blood calcium level. So it results in overall increase in the calcium inside the bone. Now, vitamin D. Vitamin D does not directly affect the bone calcium, but it functions as an assistant to PTH in increasing the level of the calcium inside the blood. So how it does? It does it by increasing the absorption and decreasing the excretion. So overall effect is there is increased level of the calcium inside the blood, and this increased level of the calcium then moves back inside the bone. So to summarize, calcitonin decreases the calcium inside the blood. Overall effect is increasing the calcium inside the bone. Parathyroid increases the calcium inside the blood at the expense of decreasing the calcium in the bone. And vitamin D increases the absorption, decreases the excretion. So overall effect is increase the blood calcium level and indirectly increasing the calcium in the bone. Now let us see this factor one by one in more detail. First, let us start with the vitamin D. So vitamin D is synthesized inside the skin by the sunlight. Also some form of the vitamin D we also consume in the food. So when the skin is exposed to the sunlight, the substance inside the skin, 7-dehydrocholesterol, gets converted into the cholecalciferol or vitamin D3. From the food also, which we ever consume, the vitamin D comes in the form of vitamin D3. Now this vitamin D3 contains 1 molecule of alcohol in it, but with just 1 peg of the alcohol, this vitamin is not active. It requires 2 more peg of the alcohol to function. 3 पैक के बिना विटामिन काम नहीं कर सकता, विटामिन डी काम नहीं करता. So 1 more alcohol molecule is added inside the liver, and 3rd molecule of the alcohol is added inside the kidney. Now with 3 molecule of alcohol, it becomes calcitriol with the 3 alcohol molecule, and this is the active form of vitamin D. Now why this process is there? Because we can get exposed to the sunlight, or we can consume a large amount of vitamin D3 in the food, but it is activated according to need of the body, so that it does not become overactivated or hypervitaminosis does not occur. What is the overall effect of vitamin D? When we are concerned with the calcium, this is the calcium entry without vitamin D. It absorbs via paracellular pathway inside the whole intestine, but absorption is not very efficient. It is poorly absorbed. And here is the help of vitamin D. It opens the calcium channel and actively absorbs the calcium in the body. So overall absorption of the calcium with the vitamin D is very efficient and very powerful. So effect of vitamin D, it increases the calcium channel. Not only it actively absorbs the calcium, but it also increases the transport protein calbindin, which is required for the transportation of the calcium throughout the body. Apart from that, it increases the reabsorption of the calcium, so whichever calcium was going out of the body via kidney is reabsorbed. And in a very higher dose, it can also mobilize the calcium from the bone to the blood. Remember, the primary function of the vitamin D is to increase the calcium level inside the blood. So if there is no other sources available, it can also take the calcium from the bone, just like PTH. But bone is its last choice to take a calcium. Now, type of the calcium preparation available. Fungal derived calcium preparation contains vitamin D2, which is called ergocalciferol. But the overall efficacy, overall potency of this preparation is 10 times less as compared to vitamin D3 preparation. That is why it is not much commonly used nowadays. Vitamin D3 or cholecalciferol, it is also available commercially, and it is most commonly used the vitamin D preparation. It is available as a sachet, or as a chewable gum, or as a syrup for the pediatric preparation. Then calcitriol is also available. Now why? Because as we have learned that the activation of vitamin D requires both proper functioning of kidney as well as liver. So if liver and kidney is not functioning properly, giving vitamin D3 is not going to work. So we have to give activated vitamin D3, that is calcitriol. So it is required in case of severe renal and liver disease. Then one more preparation available, which is called alpha calcidol. This can be activated inside the liver without much functioning of liver or kidney. So it is also similarly useful as calcitriol, but it is longer acting as compared to calcitriol. Now, uses of calcium. Obviously, in case of nutritional deficiency, when we are not very much exposed to sunlight or not consuming enough vitamin D in the diet. Even though we have so much sunlight exposure, still vitamin D deficiency in nowadays in modern sophisticated life is very common. Then second is the osteoporosis, postmenopausal osteoporosis or age-related osteoporosis. Vitamin D and calcium is the primary treatment to start in any case of osteoporosis. And third is the rickets. Now rickets are of different type. First ricket is vitamin D dependent ricket. Let the name suggests that we have to give vitamin D in that rickets. Second is vitamin D resistance ricket. Here the receptor for vitamin D has altered and it is not responding to the normal dose of vitamin D, and we have to give very high dose of vitamin D in that type of rickets. Third one is the renal rickets. It is due to increased excretion of the calcium from the renal, and we have to give calcitriol as there is problem with the kidney. Vitamin D toxicity. If the excessive vitamin D is consumed over a longer period of a time, it leads to hypervitaminosis D and vitamin D toxicity, which results in increase in calcium and phosphate in the blood, and as a result there can occur some neurological and GIT symptoms. As we have already talked that vitamin D can also mobilize calcium from the bone, so maybe there occurs a loss of calcium from the bone as well in case of vitamin D toxicity. So that was all about vitamin D. Now coming to the second factor, that is the parathyroid hormone. Before understanding the parathyroid hormone, we need to understand the little bit of bone physiology. There are two types of bone cell: osteoclast, which is called bone eating cell, and osteoblast, which is called bone building cell. The function of osteoclast is to eat the bone and release the mineral, whereas function of osteoblast is to lay down the bone material and form the bone. Now, how PTH act? Continuous chronic release of PTH lead to activation of osteoclast, and this led to continuous bone resorption. So in chronic hyperparathyroidism, there is loss of bone material and easy fracture can occur. So continuous PTH results in bone resorption. Now, this is how it occurs. Osteoclasts are activated, bone resorption occurs, bone becomes spongy and easily fracturable. Porous bone occurs, which is known as osteoporosis. But if the PTH is intermittent, not continuously raised but intermittently raised, then apart from osteoclast, it can also stimulate the osteoblast, and bone resorption is followed by bone formation. So overall result is the bone formation. So intermittent PTH results in the overall bone formation. So osteoclast activation leads to bone resorption, and if the PTH is not continuous, then it is followed by stimulation of osteoblast and laying down of the new bone. So continuous PTH, bone resorption; intermittent PTH, overall effect is the bone formation. Now let's talk about the various preparation of the PTH available. PTH is 84 amino acid molecule and itself is not useful in a form of the treatment. But we derived amino acid sequences which are having the biological properties of PTH and having biological effect of PTH, and that preparation contains first 1 to 34 amino acid of the parathyroid hormone. Out of 84, only first 34 is required for the biological effect of the PTH. So two such preparations are available, which is called teriparatide and abaloparatide. Both contain first 34 amino acid sequence of the PTH, but have a little bit of different preparation. And third preparation, that is cinacalcate, is totally different molecule. We will talk about it. So teriparatide and abaloparatide, it contains first 34 amino acid of parathyroid hormone. It has same biological effect as PTH, that activation of osteoclast and osteoblast. The good thing is their half-life is only 1 to 2 hours. So whenever given as a once a day subcutaneous injection, it produces the intermittent release of PTH effect, that is overall effect is bone formation. Now, as it is a peptide, it cannot be given by oral route and it has to be given by subcutaneous route only. So what is the advantage and disadvantage of this PTH analog? Advantage is it is the only drug which can actually promote the bone formation. All other drugs useful for osteoporosis only prevents the bone loss. But for the new bone formation, this is the only preparation which can also promote the formation of new bone. Second thing, they are effective in some resistance cases as well, where other treatment is not producing much of the effect. Disadvantage is it cannot be given for more than 2 years. Some cases of osteosarcoma after a long-term use of this preparation has been found. So it is not recommended to give teriparatide and abaloparatide beyond the 2 years. It requires daily subcutaneous injection, so patient compliance may not be that good and they are very costly. So these are the disadvantages of the teriparatide and abaloparatide. But again, they are the only drug which can promote the new bone formation. Cinacalcet is a different group of drug known as calcimimetic. Calcimimetic means they mimic the calcium. That means they bind on the calcium sensing receptor on the parathyroid gland and prevents the release of parathyroid hormone. Parathyroid gland feels that calcium level is very high or normal and parathyroid hormone is not released. So where it is used, where we need to decrease the parathyroid level in case of hyperparathyroidism. So it is used in the treatment of hyperparathyroidism. It is not very much useful in the osteoporosis except it is osteoporosis due to hyperparathyroidism. Now coming to the third and last factors, that is the calcitonin. Calcitonin primary function is to remove the calcium from the blood its main function is to remove calcium from the blood. It tries to decrease the calcium from the calcium level in the blood. Useful, obviously it is useful in hyperparathyroidism, which helps to counter the increased calcium level. Second thing, in the hypervitaminosis D also there is increase in blood calcium level, so it helps in decreasing blood calcium level. There are some metastases which lead to bone destruction and release of calcium, and severe hypercalcemia can occur as a result. So in that case also calcitonin is useful. Effect comes within 3 to 4 hours and peak effect comes within 48 hours. There are some hypercalcemia of malignancy also occur, which produces effect similar. Some malignancy produces effect similar to PTH. So giving calcitonin helps in decreasing the calcium level in such malignancy. In the postmenopausal osteoporosis or other forms of osteoporosis also, as we have seen that it increases the bone calcium level, so it is useful as a adjuvant treatment. And in the Paget diseases, it is temporarily helpful in decreasing the bone pain and increasing the bone mineralization. But resistance to calcitonin occurs very fast, so it is only temporarily effective. The good thing about calcitonin is it is available as a nasal spray. Once a day nasal spray is given in alternative nostril to produce the effect of the calcitonin. Overall summary of today's lecture: there are 3 factors which regulate the calcium level: PTH, calcitonin and vitamin D. PTH primary function is to increase the calcium level. Calcitonin primary function is to decrease the calcium level in the blood, and vitamin D increases the calcium level but by in the long term by increasing the absorption from the food or decreasing the excretion out of the kidney. Bone resorption is followed by stimulation of new bone formation. Continuous release of PTH lead to bone loss, but intermittent release of PTH lead to bone formation. So in case of chronic hyperparathyroidism, there is bone loss, but natural secretion of the PTH, which is intermittent, lead to bone formation. Teriparatide and abaloparatide, which contains first 34 amino acid of parathyroid hormone, has a therapeutic role in osteoporosis. Vitamin D requires activation by two-step process by kidney and the liver. So if there is kidney or liver disease, we cannot give vitamin D. We have to give active form of vitamin D, calcitriol. Thank you.